Good morning, and thank you.
How are you this morning?
Pretty good, actually, but I had a bit of rush for this program because I got interrupted.
Okay.
So I just made it on time.
Thank you. So, once again, thank you for your time. Let's start. Honorable Ministers, you've recently returned from international summits in France and Indonesia. What outcomes from those meetings are most relevant to Pacific communities, especially Samoans and New Zealanders?
Oh, well, and you've got to remember at the Nice event in France, which was about the oceans, nearly all of Pacifica was there, including Prime Minister Fiame from Samoa
Yeah.
and others from all around the Pacific. We are, after all, the blue continent. That's 31% of the world's surface. And we're there to make sure that the world understands what our needs and our difficulties, our problems are. So that's what was important about that meeting.
Yeah.
On to Indonesia is because they're on the also have an interest in the Pacific. Indonesia does.
Yeah.
They're the world's biggest, in terms of one place, Islamic country.
Yeah.
Although there are more Islamic people in India than in Indonesia, but because of their size and being one nation there, of the biggest Islamic country in one place, let me say these engagements are seriously important, and it was my fourth visit
Right.
to there in the space of 18 months. And people wonder, why do we go to the effort? Well, we're an export-dependent nation. People are very dependent on international circumstances. All sorts of trade and other policies affect us. And so our job is to ensure that our voice is heard and that small states matter.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Honorable Minister, how is New Zealand strengthening its diplomatic ties with Pacific nations, and what role does Samoa play in this strategy?
Well, every Pacific nation is important. We've had the rule ever since I've been there, and I've been there since Helen Clark's time.
Right.
You recall, that's now 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
Our vision has always been that small states matter and everyone is as important as everybody else. Doesn't matter about the size, that the same respect and consideration should be given to small countries as much as big countries. That might does not make right.
Right.
That the rule of law, democracy and freedom and the right to worship according to your choice, these are fundamental beliefs in the Pacific, and we should be upholding them as hard as we possibly can.
I want to ask you, Honorable Minister Vaovasamanaia Winston, with growing geopolitical tensions in the Pacific, how does New Zealand balance its relationship with larger powers like China and the United States?
Yes, that's a question that's constantly being asked by not so much journalists, but some, do I say it, former politicians who keep on raising the issue.
Yeah.
And my answer to them is we have an independent foreign policy. And independent foreign policy means that you can say things to countries that you have a long relationship with that may not be, in their view, agreeable to them, but nevertheless we say it. That's what a mature, respectful relationship looks like. And it's amazing how they come out and say, well, but you said this about so-and-so and so-and-so. Why didn't you say it about someone else? And when you say it about someone else, they say, on that side, well, why do you say it about us? Because we're meant to be your friends. And the answer is, hang on a second, we're all meant to be friends in this world. It's in all of our speeches, so let's start living up to them.
Right. Okay, Vaovasamanaia, let me ask you, as Minister of Rail and Racing, what developments can our listeners expect in those sectors, and how might they benefit Pacific communities?
Look, the racing industry has had the legislation passed just a week ago, so they're in a very good space now. They're set to take off, do much better. What does it mean for the Pacific? Well, a lot of people in the Pacific, nevertheless, have a love of horses.
Yeah.
It's a thousands upon thousands of years special relationship between equine, between animals and horses, and dare I say it, human beings. And that is because we've got it fixed now. We can put that aside and hope we get a far better return for our economy. Then when you come to railways, well, look, bluntly speaking, it's May of 2020. I'm the minister in charge of the job. I ordered 2 ferries at $401 million. That's just over $200 million each, a fraction over $200 million each.
Right.
We come back to find they've made an order all right, but now the order is blown out to $4 billion. to $4 billion, up 3.6 billion. And now you've had all these excuses. What happened was they took the request to buy 2 ferries, blew out the size of them, and when blowing out the size of them, they had to change the whole infrastructure where the cost was coming from.
Right.
So out of every $5 being spent on this project, 4 was going on the infrastructure and 1 on the ferries. So we stopped that. We're all set to go, not many weeks ago now, reorganized and using our best assets, and we'll have 2 new ferries a little bit later, but it will cost over $2 billion less than what was originally charged. Now, just one thing.
Yeah.
They're talking about having their previous government's ferries ready by next year.
Right.
That is balderdash. That was never going to be true. Never was going to happen. And here's the most important point. They would have had no infrastructure because they're too big for it.
Okay, I want to ask you, you've long advocated for regional investment, and what are your current priorities for Auckland and South Auckland, where many of our Samoan families live?
Well, I've long advocated for regional investment, that's true, but I have advocated for the provinces where many of them live as well, all around New Zealand, which have been the provinces seriously neglected. Everyone carried on as though the money was generated out of Auckland, when we know the moment COVID came to this country, how important the agriculture and primary producers of our country are. Were then, and they are now, and at the present time they're at record levels of exports at almost $60 billion. So these are critical things for us to do. But you're right about in terms of the populations of this country. We have got to do far better as an economy to deliver for all of our populations the way we used to do when we were a country half the size that we are now.
Right, yeah.
Admittedly, we didn't have as much immigration as we did then, but the point is that when you look at immigration and all those matters, you bring people here that you need, not people who need you.
Right.
If we can help them in their own country and rather than come here, that should be the idea. And our program when it comes to foreign affairs is to always say, look, if we can build business and long-term enterprise in the islands, then we should be going for it, because that's what, above all, the leadership wants. The leadership in the islands is very concerned about population diminishing, or falling away. And it's a big worry. And in some ways, people are saying about New Zealand. But no, our point is to get our economy running properly, and it's going to take a little time, because the situation we inherited had massive borrowings, but very low production, low productivity, and that's what's wrong with that.
Yeah. My final question, I know you're very busy, Honourable Minister, this morning. What is your stance on immigration policy, particularly regarding family unification and pathways to residency for Pacific people?
Well, our policy starts from this basis. I'm not talking on a program where our DNA is the same. Our DNA of 1,000 years comes from way back, dare I say it, in Taiwan, off China. That's 5,000 years of progress across the Pacific. So the first thing my party says when we're talking about immigration matters, we're talking to cousins of cousins, and we want some respect here. All right? Not the way we've got the bureaucracy set at the moment. So that's the reason why on most of our programs, all of our ones that I've been involved with, like the regional seasonal workers scheme, that's done in consultation with the Samoan government. Person to person with them first, not through some bureaucracy. And that's why we should be doing all our policies.
Honourable Minister Vaovasamanaia Winston Peters, thank you so much for your time. Before I let you go, from all of us here on Radio Samoa, we thank you and your party, New Zealand First, for supporting residency for our Pacific, for our Samoan people. I'm aware that there is a petition asking for at least 3 or 4 months visa free to come to New Zealand. Do you think you will support that?
I'm having conversations on that matter. It comes down to the bureaucracy. See, a lot of countries are saying, we offer you visa free. Well, they can offer that because no one's going. In our case, that would be different. So first of all, as I've said to Prime Minister Fiame and others, we need to discuss it with your country, your government, what it all means. Because if it has downside ramifications, then the people in Samoa may not forgive us. So let's work our way through it. We are talking about easing things up, making it far more lasting. But at the same time, as you all know, when cousins go to some other whānau, they behave by the rules. Fair enough.
Once again, thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for your time.
Thank you.
Faaf te lava.